We believe that. We believe that God uses broken people over and over and again. Welcome to River Lake Church. We're glad you're here today for our second of three service, 9:45 crowd. You were the first ever 9:45 crowd at River Lake Church, so give yourself a round. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know why that's special, but I just thought we should celebrate together. Anyway, hey, we believe church should be relevant, simple, and real, and we're glad you're here today. We're starting a brand new series called Unqualified, and before we get too far into it, I want to thank Elevation Church. It's a church that we follow. They wrote a book. Actually, Stephen Furtick wrote a book called Unqualified, and we completely took their videos and graphics, and so I want to thank them for that. It's really, really great. The book is very different than what we're going to be talking about, but it also has the same themes, and so if you like what we're talking about and you like to read, or if you like what you're talking about, you don't like to read, but you need help, buy this book. I highly recommend it. It's a great book. So anyway, I wanted to say thank you to them as we get started this morning. And so as we kick off, I want to tell you a story about me. It's a personal story. It's a little bit raw, a little bit real. I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable with you today. But as we said, one of our core values is to be relevant, simple, and real. And so a few years ago, I was working at the church, and there was this kind of stuff that was going on, and I got called into a meeting at Cheddar's with a guy that was above me. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those meetings, but those meetings really never go well, do they? I mean, I kind of knew the agenda, and so I was in Bowling Green. It was in Cheddar's, one of my favorite restaurants, so it's kind of like one of those things like, hey, how you doing? Have some great food. You know, I'm going to nail you kind of a moment, because there was some stuff going on, and as I'm driving there, because of my personality, I'm pretty driven. I want to get better. I know that I'm not perfect. I'm walking through, there was some complaints and some issues and some things, and I'm walking through every one of them as I'm driving. It's like a 40-minute drive, and so I'm thinking, okay, I can take some time and process this and kind of figure out what I need to own and what I don't. And as I'm driving, I'm thinking, okay, I did it. I don't like how this is going. I did it. Did that too. I did that. And I start thinking through, man, I'm not really good. I transitioned from, hey, this is going to be a really bad meeting. I'm about to get my butt chewed and the whole deal, and this is going to be a really bad meeting, to starting to transition from it's a bad day to, wow, I'm not sure I'm good at this. Because as I started thinking more and more about it, I started thinking about my friends who are pastors and how they don't struggle with any of the things that I struggle with. You see, I was thinking about my friends, and one of the things about my friends who are pastors, almost all of them, they're like super nice people, right? And I don't want to say I'm mean, but like, that's not really the adjective that people use when they talk about me. They're not like Nick Smith, nice guy. Like, that just doesn't come out a lot, you know. They're like Nick Smith, intense. Like, be careful. Like, he's intense. Like, he's cool, but like, but I'm not nice. But you think about the typical pastor, and like, they're just really nice people. They show up and they're like, oh, he's just like my grandpa, you know. And that's not me at all. I'm not that. And I'm thinking about more things. And you think about a typical pastor, and a lot of my friends, they're great. They're great at hospital visits. I mean, they just kind of show up, right? And you're sick and you're in a hospital and your pastor walks in, he's got his Bible, and like they kind of float in and you get better. Like the presence of God comes with them. And I show up and people get worse. It's terrible. I don't know what goes on. I pray for them. I don't know what happens. But I'll come to the hospital. Okay, if you're sick, I mean, it's not that I don't want to do it, but it's just like, I'm just not gifted in that way. I'm not that skilled in that way. And as I'm thinking about all of my friends and all the issues that I've got going on, I'm thinking, I am completely unqualified for the job that I feel like I'm called to do. Like, I start to use definitive statements that transition. In a 40-minute ride, I went from, it's going to be a bad day, to, I'm not sure I'm good at this, to, I start coming up with statements that are I am statements, and there start to be statements of, I am a failure. I am unqualified. I am too intense. I am not good at hospital. I am. And I start to have all these labels that put upon me, that I put upon myself. No one else put them upon me. I went from a moment in time to my whole life is summed up by this kind of sentence right here. And it was a terribly frustrating drive. So much so I got out and slammed my door and walked into Cheddar's. It was just a terrible day. But the labels, that day was a tough day for me, because I started to come face to face with the reality of what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And like we typically do, we tend to focus way more on what we're not good at than what we are good at, As a matter of fact, I think that one good thing, or 10 good things is trumped by one bad thing, right? I mean, you can have 10 people say, hey, that was great, that was great, that was great, that was great. And you can have one person look at you and go, I don't think you're really good at that. And all you can think about is the one person. We do that, labels. I'm not good at that. Let me ask you a question. What's your label right now? What's your label? Because labels are something that we give ourselves, like I did that day, that we can kind of sit back and we can take a moment and kind of assign labels to us. We can sit back and go, I'm a failure, I'm an addict, I'm a loser, I'm a jerk, I'm unlovable, I'm unlikable, okay? I'm always last, I am last in all kinds of stuff. We come up with our own labels, but at the same time, in a room like this, filled as it is, there are labels for everybody. And not only do you give yourself labels, but other people gave you labels. Like there's some people in here right now that your mom looked at you or your dad looked at you at a young age and said, you're an idiot, or you're not smart, or you'll never be good at that. And it was a label. It's I am that. And it stuck, didn't it? I mean, you're an adult right now, and it stuck. It stuck with you. You've got labels. You've got labels about how you see yourself and who you think you are and whether you think you're pretty or attractive or whether you think you're successful or whether you're a failure. Some of you, you're so incredibly successful, but you've got a label on you that says, I'm a failure. So you spend your whole life working, making more, going up the ladder, all in this pursuit to change the label, but the label was given to you one time, sometimes by a stranger. Some of you, you have labels given to you not because somebody said something to you, but because something happened to you. So somebody did something to you, and your label is, I am a victim. And you may be. I mean, it's tragic, terrible things. Again, in a room this size, it's filled with terrible stories. But that one moment defines you. That one moment tends to set the trajectory of your whole entire life. That one moment is what kind of, like there's before that moment and after that moment. And that's kind of everything. And you are a victim. That's your label. That's what controls you. That's what guides you. That's what makes your decisions. And what I want to talk about today, what really we're going to talk about this whole series, and I hope you commit to being here for the whole series because it gets better and better. We're kind of laying a foundation today, but I really want you to understand one premise today, and I'm going to give it to you early if you got to check out, but it's this. Your labels are your limitation. That the labels that you believe about yourself, the labels that you own, the labels that you kind of write on yourself, whether proudly or whether shamefully, the labels that you believe, the labels that you own, are the limitation to what you'll succeed in. That you can only go so far as the label that you believe lets you. And there's some people in here today that you've got some labels that I just really believe with all my heart. I've been praying for months about this series. I believe with all my heart God wants to remove some labels from you. Because he's got something amazing for you to do. He's got an incredible destiny for you. But you'll never get there as long as the label's there. You'll never get there. And you'll blame other things and you'll kind of give examples and, if God was clear, or if I had an experience, or if I could do this, or if this just happened to me, or whatever. You'll kind of come up with all the other reasons that you're not achieving your destiny. You're not going there. You're not kind of achieving the success you want. But the reality is, it's the label that is a limitation in your life. What is the label? For some of you, here's a crazy thing that just stuck with me forever is I don't like health food. That sounds silly, right? Like, who doesn't like health food? I can't see you, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so, just kidding. But I believed that label for years because I had somebody look at me one day and go, Nick doesn't eat vegetables. It's a label. It's silly, it's stupid. And the last few months, I've had to own that and go, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. No. I'm going to figure that out. And I'm getting there. And that's silly, but there's some serious, serious labels that every single one of you has. That I have, that you have, that I believe God wants to remove this morning if we let him. So if you got a Bible, I want to encourage you to turn to Exodus chapter 2. We're going to pick up a story about a guy named Moses. So if you're here, whether you're a Christian or not Christian, you've probably heard of Moses. If you're not a Christian, I believe what we're going to talk about today can help you just as much as anything else. We're going to put the scripture on the screen if you don't have a Bible, but we're going to pick up a story. And Moses was a guy that just, he was born in a time period where they were killing all the Jewish slaves. And so the mom didn't want him to die, so she took him and she passed him down a river. And one of the daughters of Pharaoh found him in the river and apparently picked him up and went, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. I don't know what that happened with that whole process, but she found a baby and thought that was normal. I'm not sure how. Like, mine. Lucky Moses, I guess. And Moses goes from peasant Jew to in line for the throne kind of a deal. He's the princess's son, and he gets all this stuff. He gets education, he gets background, he gets money, he gets respect, he gets glory, he gets all this kind of stuff like that. And he grows up in the most powerful nation in the world. All by chance, all by luck, all by, we don't believe in that, providence. But God is raising him up. He is strategically, uniquely positioned. And in the process of doing all that, he finds out that he's not really an Egyptian, that he's a Jew, and that his people are being enslaved. And all of a sudden, what frustrates him and what destroys him, what bugs him, becomes his calling. I would say this: whatever bugs you in life may be the thing that God's calling you to do in life. If you're here today and you're like, Nick, I just don't know what my calling is. I go through every day, I'm trying to figure that out. I'm not sure what I should do next. What bugs you? I believe that sometimes God puts things in your world that really, really bug you, that every time you see it on the news, every time you hear about it, every time somebody talks about it, that you're just kind of like, it just kind of grates in you. Moses it kind of grated at him that he saw his people being oppressed, and it wasn't about him because he was fine. And he starts to understand that, maybe God positioned me uniquely to rescue the people of Israel. That might be my calling. And we're going to pick up the story, Exodus chapter 2, verse 12. Here's what it says. Looking this way and that, and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Now, the Egyptian was abusing a Jewish slave. And Moses kills him because he was doing that. He gets angry. Moses has an anger problem. He gets angry, kills him, and he goes on. The next day he went out and saw two Hebrews fighting. So not Egyptian and Hebrew. Two Hebrews fighting. And he asked the one in the wrong, why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew? Now I just want to pause here for real quick and point out a couple things. One, it's two Hebrews. And Moses sees himself. Moses feels like God's positioned him as, I'm supposed to be head over Hebrews. I'm supposed to be head over the Jews. I'm going to save the Jews. Second thing is, this guy is wrong. Okay, so he's in the wrong. He's going to be defensive. He's going to be a little upset. He's going to be a little ticked off that somebody else is calling him out because nobody likes to be wrong. I mean, how many of you, when you're wrong and somebody calls you out, you're like, yes, that was me. I'm so sorry. Let me apologize and repent of that right now in front of you. How many of you are like that? Right, yeah, none of us are. No. This guy's going to do what all of us do, which is this. He says this back to Moses. The man said, who made you ruler and judge over us? Who do you think you are? Who died and made you king, Moses? Are you kidding me? You think you're my boss? You think you're the ruler? You think you're in charge? You think you can rescue us? Who are you? Who are you to say something to me? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian? Just saying. Like it's at that moment he's got the belly drop. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole yeah. Then Moses was afraid and thought, what I did must have become known. Moses has a clear calling. Tries to do it. Moses tries to rescue his people and makes a mistake. Kills an Egyptian, tries to cover it up like we all do when we make a mistake. And he gets called out by a guy that's wrong. But what I want you to see is this. The guy doesn't challenge what he did. The guy doesn't say, hey, don't kill me. No. The guy gives him a label. The guy looks at Moses and says, who are you? Who do you think you are? Essentially, he's looking at him and saying, you're not qualified to be my leader. You killed a guy. I know what you did. You're not qualified. Label. And Moses, the story goes on. It's a fascinating story. I'd encourage you to go back and read it all this week. It's in Exodus, second book of the Bible. It says that Moses does what we all do when we're confronted with our sin, when we're confronted with what we do when we mess up. He ran. He ran away. And he runs from his destiny to the desert. And again, that's what we do. When we run from our destiny, I don't care how awesome your world is, you will end up in the desert. And that's what happens to him. He runs from that. And so in the process of doing it, he goes there in the desert and he spends 40 years 40 years of his life. He was 40 when this happened. He spends 40 years in the desert, running from his destiny, thinking, I'm done. I ran away from everybody. There's like a few people out there. He's got a few sheep. I mean, he's not doing anything with his life. He's getting a little bit older, okay? And he's like, my life's done, okay? I had a chance. I blew it. And again, there's some people in here today that's what you think. You think, you know what? When I was younger, I had a chance. When I was 20, when I was 25, I had a chance. And I felt like God called me to do something, or I felt like I was supposed to do great things. But you know what? Now, I've blown it. Okay, if you knew my past, if you knew what I did, if you knew how I messed up, if you knew what I, kind of messed up in my past, you'd understand I'm unqualified. I blew it. I messed it up. But the beauty of God and the gospel is that he's never done with us. That wherever you're at, whether you're 8 or 80, God is always drawing you into his destiny for you. He's never going to give up on you. He's never going to leave you behind. He's never going to throw up his hands and go, all right, you did it, I'm done. And so at 80, God does what, I guess only God does. He creates a bush and starts lighting it on fire, but it doesn't burn up. He creates a kind of a moment, an experience for Moses. An undeniable, I'm not sure quite what I heard, but I can't deny I'm seeing that kind of burning bush moment. And so Moses, seeing it, says, okay, I'm going to go check this burning bush thing out. Excuse me. Burning bush thing out. And here's what it says. Exodus chapter 3. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called him from within the bush and said, Moses, Moses. Now, I don't know about you, but when bushes start talking to me, I start freaking out, okay? You may be cooler than I am. I don't know, but I'm running at this moment. But he goes on to say this a little bit later. So now, point of the story. Here we go, Moses. I'm going to tell you what I want you to do. So now, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Now, what did Moses originally want to do when he was 40? When he was a spring chicken, young dude, wanted to lead the nation of Israel out of Egypt. 40 years later, through a bush that's burning undeniably, clear as day, God looks at Moses and says, boy, do I got a plan for you. I got a calling. I want you to do the very thing that you think you're supposed to do. Let's go. Come on, it's going to be great. No, I made you to do it. You saw it. Come on, let's go. Let's go. What do you think Moses' response is? If I'm reading this, I'm thinking, yes. This is great. God, I knew I was supposed to do it. I knew that. Yeah, I'm so glad finally somebody believes in me. Okay, my whole life nobody's believed in me, but finally, God, you're the best, God, okay? Because I don't care what Jimmy said. You're the best. He said I was a duty head. I don't care what he said. I'm not one. I'm going forward. Sorry. Anyway, that's not what he thought. Anyway, here's what he says. But Moses said to God, don't miss this. Who am I? Label. 40 years earlier, some guy who I'm not even sure he knew very well, being defensive, didn't even mean it, was just being reactionary, looked at Moses and says, who are you? And 40 years later, God calls Moses to do the very thing that he was created to do. And Moses is still holding on to that label. God, I'm unqualified. Who am I? Who am I to do this? I can't do this. Are you kidding me, God? No, you got the wrong person. Who am I? Label. Your labels will be your limitation. And there's some people in here today that you think time, you've got some labels that you're kind of walking through, and you think, if I just had some more time. Time doesn't do it. He had 40 years. Nothing. 40 years. Still there. There's some people in here today. You've had some people say something to you as a kid, and you still haven't gotten over it. You had somebody look at you, a mom or a dad or a friend or a coworker or whatever, and they said something to you, and you still haven't gotten past it. You still sit back and think, you know what? I'm just not smart enough. I'm not skilled enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not educated enough. I'll never be able to get that job. I'll never be able to get that person in my life. I'll never be able to get over this. I'll never be able, no, I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I'm a whatever. There's such definitive statements. All because somebody said something. Moses is rejecting, don't miss this, rejecting the clear call of God. Because somebody one time said something 40 years ago. And it's easy. It's easy to look at the story and blow it off. To look at Moses and go, wow, that guy doesn't get it. But I think there's people in church every single week. They experience God. They might even see God. And they hear God's audible call in their life clearly. And yet they're stuck in the desert. The belief is, I run into people all the time that sit back and go, Nick, if God just spoke to me clearly, if he just told me exactly what he wanted me to do, then I could do it. It's not true. Your limitation isn't clarity. Your limitation is your label. And every single week, people show up. Maybe some of you experience God and you're like, oh, that's so great. And I'm talking, or maybe you go to a different church or it's your first time here or whatever, and you just kind of hear different things and you feel like I should apologize or I should go do that or I should stop that or whatever that call is on your life. You feel like God's got something great for you to do, but then the labels come in. The labels come in and start to squash it. And you leave here defeated and frustrated thinking, I'll never be forgiven. I'll never be loved. I'll never be accepted. I'll never be smart enough. I'll never be whatever. I am unqualified. You're Moses. I'm Moses. And until we remove the labels, until we own them and say, you know what, if I'm being honest, that's a label in my life. That, you know what, I don't like to say it audibly. I'm not going to say it out loud, but internally, as you're talking, Nick, okay, that's a label. Okay, I believe that. My uncle told me that. My brother told me that. My sister told me, whatever. That's a label. I told myself that. Until you remove the labels in your life, you will be limited to what you can accomplish and do. Moses was hearing from the voice of God. And Jimmy's voice from 40 years ago was trumping it. And we do the same thing every day. But God's response is amazing. Because if you're God, what would you say? Like if it's me, I'd sit back and be like, oh, Moses, no, you're amazing. It's going to be great. And you're going to be so cool. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do these great things. And no, you're good. No, who are you? You're Moses. I chose you. I proclaimed you. I exalted you. You're Moses. You're Moses. Like, go. Like, be pep talk time. If I was God, that's what I would say. It's a good thing I'm not God. So here's what he says. And God said, I'll be with you. Oh, you're unqualified? That's cool. I got your back. I'm with you. No, I know. I know your issues. I know your struggles. I got your back. I'm with you. And again, it's not at all what I expected. I expect God to be the great encourager and like, you're amazing, but I'll just be honest. God really doesn't do that a lot in Scripture. God consistently wants us to focus on Him, not us, what He can do, not what we can do, His power and authority, not our power and authority. And He looks at Moses, and Moses says, who am I? And God doesn't tell him anything about who He is. He just says, oh yeah, I'm not even going to get to that. That's a whole can of worm, okay? I'm going to be with you. As I was studying this, it made me think of some games that we would play as kids with words. Growing up, I was made fun of a lot, so I'll just put it that way. I was a skinny kid with massive, flappy, Dumbo-sized ears, okay? My ears have actually not gotten smaller. My face has got fatter, so it filled in. So if you're like, oh, it doesn't look that bad, it's because my face is fat, all right? So thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate that. That's great. No, but as a kid, I mean, they were huge, all right? And so, in grade school, kids are always so nice and supportive, encouraging, aren't they? I mean, so every day I would get made fun of, like, hey, Dumbo, can you fly? Blah, 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 blah. And my dad would always try to help out with advice. He'd be like, Nick, just tell him, hey, it's better to fly with. And I said that one day. That did not help at all, okay? Just so you know. Like, that was terrible advice. Thank you, Dad, for nothing. But growing up, you would say things, though, kind of in a defensive kind of moment of just saying, like, you'd say things like, I'm rubber, you're glue, bounces off me, sticks to you. That never worked either, okay? I never got done with that and been like, nailed it, okay, yes. Like, because they didn't have big ears. That wasn't helpful at all. But one of the statements that kids would say all the time, too, and you got to say it with an attitude. You can't say it kind of shyly, but, you know, they would get in this kind of argument back and forth and be like, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? You ever get in one of those repetition things where both people would say it? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are. I mean, they would just sit back and say that over and over and over and over again. And as a kid growing up, that was kind of my deal. But I was thinking about it more and more. And I think that's exactly what God says to us, though. Not in an insulting way. But we too often, we go to God and we sit back and we talk about all the things that we're not. We talk about all the things like, God, I'm not skilled and I'm not smart enough and I'm not bold enough and I'm not great with people and I'm not likable and I'm way too intense and I'm not, that's all this kind of stuff like that. And we present them to God as if it's some case to get out of what he wants us to do. And I believe that God looks at us very quietly and softly and just says, I know you are. But what am I? I know you're not good with that. But what am I? I know you're not the best with people, relating with people, and that's part of your job, but I know you're not good at that. But what am I? I know you failed in that. I know you're addicted to that. I know you've been abused in the past. I know that you're a victim. I know. But what am I? And if we can shift our perspective, if we can shift it to understand that what God is saying to us and what God is looking to say. Listen, quit relying on your own strength. Quit relying on your own abilities. Quit relying on your own stuff. I know you are, but what am I? God is looking at us and saying, I am. I'm God. In matter of fact, he goes on and he says this, the next verse. Moses says, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? And what shall I say? Who am I supposed to say sent me, God? Here's what he says. God says to Moses, I am who I am. That's an awesome statement. That's a boss statement right there, okay? You can walk in and be like, I am who I am. It's confident. This is what you were to say to the Israelites. I am has sent you. What God was saying to Moses, I believe, is the same thing that God is saying to you and God is saying to me. I am everything that you're not. I am fill in the blank. I am your strength. I am your hope. I am your life. I am your freedom. I am your future. I am God. I got it all. I know you are, but I am omniscient, omnipresent. I know everything, can do everything. I am in all space and time. I am the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end. I am for you, not against you. I am with you always and will never forsake you. I'm God, and I've got you. And if we can just shift it in the midst of our temptation, in the midst of our struggles, in the midst of the moments where we sit back and start to define ourselves definitively with an I am statement, I am blank. If we can pause and go, oh, I know I am. But God, what are you? God, God, I need you to remind me who you are. I know I am. I need you to remind me who you are, though. I had a really bad day that day driving to Bowling Green, but it ended okay. I told you I was frustrated the whole time going there. Had all these statements. Got out of the car. Not so proud of this. But I slammed the car door shut. Looked up at God. Frustrated with all the I am statements, all the definitive statements about myself, all the just realities of I am completely unqualified for this, and realizing, and looked at God and said, why did you make me this way? Okay, you knew I would stink at this. You knew I would struggle. You knew all my deficiencies. There's no doubt in my mind. Why would you make me like this? Have you ever asked that question? Have you ever got mad at God and kind of looked at your past and kind of blamed him and kind of said, why did you make me this way? That's what I did. Why did you make me this way? And as clear as God speaks to me. It wasn't audibly, but just clarity and peace came upon me. I just felt like God said, Nick, I need you to build a different kind of church. But to build a different kind of church, I need you to be a different kind of pastor. And so I know all the stuff that you're not. But there's a lot of stuff that you are. And it's different, and it's going to mess with some people, and they're not going to understand it. But who are you going to listen to? Who's going to define you? Which voice are you going to listen to? Because the voices you listen to determine the destiny that you receive. And I was in a desert for a while. I was stuck in a desert, frustrated and angry. And God was calling me out into my destiny. Saying, no, Nick, you don't understand. I got something so much better for you. I got something so much more for you. Will you trust me? And we have this church today because of it. Because, let me just be honest, people still get worse when I show up at the hospital, okay? Just so we're clear, all right? Did not fix this. I am still super intense, all right? If you hang out with me, be like, I can only handle so much, all right? You know, not Santa Claus nice. Did not fix, still there. But God was looking at me saying, Nick, I am your God. I've got you. I am with you. I'll never leave you. I need you to be you, though. I need you to go. I need you to move forward. I need you to step up. I need you to take this next step. I need you to move forward. I am everything that you're not. Would you stand?
Jesus Christ, oh come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ.
What I hope you see today is this. God is for you, and He wants to remove every single label. He has made you deficient on purpose, not by accident, but on purpose, so that He would get glory, He would get all the worship. It's about Him. But your deficiency does not determine your destiny. Your direction does. And so here's what I want you to do. I'm going to show you a picture. I did this last night. We're going to put it up here, I hope. There it is. Okay, that's a goofy picture of me. Take it off now. All right. Sorry. Took it quick. Here's what I want you to see. That day, I declared, I'm so unqualified. I'm so unqualified. I should not, it's by God's grace and mercy I get to do this. You know what happened? Freedom. Such freedom. To just be me. To get rid of the expectations of perfection, to get rid of all the issues and the struggles of like, what are they going to think and how they're going to respond and what's going to happen and, oh, what if they find out I'm not perfect and what if they find out I'm not good at that and what if they do get worse and what if they think I'm not nice and I'm not like the other pastors and all that kind of stuff like that. It's freedom. And so I declared that day internally, I am unqualified. And yet, I still have an amazing destiny. As you leave today, here's what I want to encourage you to do. We got a booth set out there, and it's got these pictures on it, actually. I want to encourage you. Declare today, you are unqualified. Make today the day that you move forward. Make today the day that you remove the labels. Make today the day that you remove all limitations on your life. And you go, no, today's a new day. God has me. God loves me. I'm moving forward. I am unqualified. Stop by and no longer be slave to other people's expectations, to your own expectations, to your past, to your events, to your circumstances. Let today be the day that you move into your calling and your destiny and out from the desert. God bless. Have a great week.
Oh, come to